in all reality, it looks like the Detroit Lions are probably going defense, or at least heavily defense within this draft. And we discussed our favorite defensive tackles as a position in need.
Yes, we have.
I kind of want to get your grades on our list here. See how well the heavies draft the heavies or scout the heavies. Spinney, give them yours first.
So, obviously, the top two are the top two. Everybody knows that. It's Jalen Carter and Brian Brisset. And then it got a little dicey for me. I threw Ika and Dexter in there out of Florida. I like him a lot. But the guy I really fell in love with after I was looking tape and watching these guys, I'm going to butcher his name every time I say it, but is Ika out of Baylor. That big dude in the middle, just a monster, is very fast for his size, gets after the quarterback as well as blocking the run. And then I had Mozzie Smith at 5. But I look at Ika, and that is the guy that I really like. That I told Easy when I was watching the tape and doing it, I was like,
he's so cute.
I wouldn't mind if the Lions went offense in the first round, because I think he'd be there in the second round, and I like this guy a lot. So that was the one that I was fawning over, for lack of better terms.
What are you grading his scouting?
Yeah, I think that's a solid, BB plus right there. And I mean, I'm with you on Ika. I think he's a late second round pick, an early third round pick. He is just so talented, so massive. As you mentioned, fast. He's got athleticism. I'm okay if they, Jalen Carter doesn't fall to them, and there's no defensive lineman that they feel like they should take at 6, or they just change the board and they want to go safe. Maybe they go offensive tackle to plug somebody inside to guard, and potentially left tackle. Maybe that's Peter Skoronski from Northwestern or Roderick Jones from Georgia. But either way, I'm fine with Ika, and I would be okay with him at the back end of the second round, early in the third round. I think he is really good. You mentioned Dexter. I think he's got to definitely develop a pass rush plan. He's got great size for the position. I think he can play just about anywhere on an interior front, whether it's a 2-eye, a nose, 4-eye, things like that. But he's got to develop a plan. But the length is there, the tools are there. It's going to matter how much time is he going to need. And when you look at the Lions with second-round picks, do they continue to take guys that might need time? I don't know. We're kind of waiting for Pascal to get healthy, and we saw what happened with Levi and stuff like that. So it would be very interesting if that's kind of the trend, though. They start taking some of these hybrid defensive linemen in the second round. They could very well go up that same trend with that list.
That's a great point with referencing to Pascal and Levi and experience with those guys taking in the second round. Our lists are pretty much the same. The one guy that I fell in love with, that I fawned over, was Keanu Benton out of Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. And what really triggered me to him, one, the size. I mean, 6'4", 315 pounds. But then I also found out he's a former wrestler, and that's one of the things that I liked about Malcolm. I feel like when you watch these guys, I mean, the aggressiveness is there. They're attacking, and the defensive line, I feel like that's something you need. Am I tripping a little bit, or is there something to falling over there in Keanu Benton?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I really like him as a third round pick. I think he kind of fits that mold. It wouldn't surprise me if he ended up being a top 50 pick just through the draft process, once teams get to kind of see him up close and personal and they realize what they can do with him, because there's so much potential with him. He's got great power, great size at 6'4", 315. I think he's definitely lacked the production as a pass rusher, which might scare some people, but Derek Brown kind of was the same way when he was coming out of Auburn. He was a top 10 pick out of for Carolina. So I think it's very possible with Benton, and I'm not saying he's Derek Brown, because they're definitely different types of players, but you can find value there, and you're hoping that Keanu Benton is kind of like a Kenny Clark 2.0, if you will. He went, obviously, Kenny Clark was, I think, far and away better coming out of college than Benton, and he was a first-round pick, and rightfully so. But at the same time, you take one of these guys, and they could very well mold into a really solid player. And for Detroit to potentially get an interior defensive lineman to pair with Aleem McNeil, I would love that. And I think it's a great landing spot if he ends up coming here. And I love the thought of Jalen Carter in the first round. I love Brescia in the first round as well. But I'm not going to force my hand when I know I can get potentially Ika or Benton here in the late second or early stages of the third round.
And there's one thing I want to squeak into, because the godfather of the mock drafts, Mel Kiper, in his top 10 pick, he had Cancey. I don't know. I'm not even going to attempt that first name. I don't know if it's Calijah, whatever. Yeah. The kid out of a pit. Is there something to be desired there with him?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched him in depth yet. I've seen a little bit from him, and I just know he's really undersized. I mean, he's listed at 6 foot 280. So you're going to have to really be careful he might be Aaron Donald 2.0, just because, not saying the Pitt thing, but because of, him being undersized, and he might have this feisty side to him, and he might be one of those guys that grinds tape for 24 hours out of the day, and he understands everything that a player has and doesn't have. But at the same time, it's rare to find those guys, and I just don't know if that's the type of guy that he is, if he's wired that way. But just some of the stuff I've seen briefly, he does struggle from time to time with some double teams. He has some nice, counter moves and pass rush moves, but it's just not consistent enough. So I was a little surprised when I saw him in the top 10, and I don't know if it's agent talk there or if that's general, legit buzz that he's going to be a first rounder. We'll kind of see what happens through this process for him, but he's going to be somebody that, we'll probably circle back to here on this show, and I'll probably do the same on Twitter and probably post some clips of him.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thumbs up. Like that.
Give me some ganja. 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 Give me some